Hello everyone, and this is our introduction to the sine rule, which is relevant to both GCSE and A-level. This is an introduction. So first of all, we're going to be talking about how do we use the sine rule to find a missing side. Now, I think the first thing to remember about the sine rule is it's all about matching pairs, okay? And in order to use the sine rule, the thing that we're looking for is we need one matching pair of a side and an angle where we've got both of those pieces of information. So here's an example of a matching pair. We've got the side and we've got the angle opposite. Now, if you've got that, you can then use this to find out something about another pair where you've only got one of the pieces of information. So in this case, we only have the angle, but we don't have the side. So this is the perfect situation for the sine rule. So when you see sine rule, think matching pairs. If you've got one matching pair of the side and the angle opposite, you can find something out about another pair if you've got one of the pieces of information. Now, when we're trying to use the sine rule to find a missing side, we use this version of the sine rule where we put the side on top and the angle underneath, okay? So there's two different variants of the sine rule. And this is the first one where we have the side on top and we have the angle underneath, okay? So let's have a look. In this particular question, question 1 from this worksheet, it wants us to find all of the missing sides, okay? So we start off by writing down the one that we know everything about, 12 divided by sine 75, because we know both of those pieces of information. And then that is equal to a, that we're trying to find, divided by sine of 45. So at that point, we then multiply both sides by sine 45 to make a the subject. And then we just work it out in our calculator. 12 divided by sine 75 times by sine 45 is a, which turns out to be 8.78 centimeters. And that's that one done. That is equal to a. Let's look at finding the other side that's missing. So again, we identified the appropriate pair. The appropriate pair is this angle and this side. We know everything about this pair, so we write 12 divided by sine 75 equals this time b over sine 60. Again, we multiply by the sine 60, so that we've now got 12 over sine 75 times by sine 60 equals b, and from that we can work out the angle, the side, which is 10.76 centimeters to 2 decimal places. So that's our first instance of how we would use the sine rule to find a missing side. Now, let's consider how we're going to use the sine rule to find a missing angle. So now we're going to find a missing angle, okay? So let's look at in part B, let's look at B part 1. So we've got a triangle here, which is 13, 12, and 64, triangle RPQ. And what we want to do is try and find all of the missing angles. Now, when you're finding an angle, you use this version of the sine rule. So sine A over A equals sine B over B. So it's like kind of a reciprocal version of the one that we used before. So again, we're looking for our matching pairs. So here's a matching pair. We know everything about this pair. We know the angle and the side. So let's say we're going to use it to find this angle here that I've just labeled x in this other matching pair. So we're going to write down this time sine 64 divided by 12 is equal to sine of x that we're trying to find divided by 13. Okay, so that's what we're going to do there. So now let's multiply by 13. So 13 times by sine 64 all divided by 12 equals sine x. So therefore sine x, let's work that out on our calculators, is equal to 13 times by sine of 64 all divided by 12. 13 times by sine 64 divided by 12 is equal to that, is equal to 0.97369. So therefore x is equal to inverse sine of that, 0.97369. An inverse sine is, for those of you who are just learning this maybe from GCSE, that's the one where you press shift on your calculator. So here on the calculator now, I would press shift, and then I'm going to press sine, put that answer in from before, and press equals, and I find out I get the answer, in this case, 76.8 degrees. Okay, so that is 76.8 degrees, 76.8 degrees to 1 decimal place, let's say. Okay, great. Now let's find this angle up here that I'm going to call y. Now, in order to find the angle y, we've got our matching pair. So we're going to say again that sine 64 divided by 12 is equal to, this case, sine y, is this case equal to sine y. Oh, now it would appear that we don't know anything about these two. So let's think about this. Ah, okay, of course. Now, I'm hesitant here because I've just realized that we don't know actually that side either. So if we were to try and use the sine rule over here now, we would have sine y over question mark. So we can't use that approach because there isn't enough information for us to do that, because we'd need to know at least one of the pieces of information. So we can't use the sine rule to find the angle y. However, we can use the fact that the angles in a triangle add up to make 180 to find y. So we're going to do 180 degrees, take away our 76.8 that we've just calculated, take away the 64 degrees that we know, and that gives us 39.2 as our other angle. So the angle y is equal to 39.2. And we've just used the fact that y is equal to 180, take away 76.8, take away the 64. And that's how we found out the other angle. So that's our second instance of how we use the sine rule. So that, I hope you found that useful. That's just a really basic introduction into how to use the sine rule just in order to find a missing side and a missing angle. In the next video, I'm going to be looking at how to use the cosine rule to find a missing side and a missing angle. And then we'll be looking at more advanced applications that would be relevant to perhaps grade 9 GCSE or, you know, the standard kind of like A-level sort of questions. So this is just our basic introduction, but I hope you found that helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.